Georgia's newly elected Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock responding now to Georgia's newly signed law curtailing ballot access for a number of folks there in Georgia. Let's listen in.
They continue to get the support that they need so that our small businesses can be strengthened, our schools can be reopened, our children and our families can be safe, we can get this pandemic under control, and we can begin to embrace a brighter future for the whole country. And so in that regard, let me finally say that when I think about the work that we've been able to do over the last few weeks with passing the American Rescue Plan, that could not have happened. It would not have happened if the people of Georgia had not stood up in the ways that they did with historic turnout in the election. And so what the state legislature did yesterday is to try to arrest the voices and the votes of the people. It will not stand. Their ability to be heard in their democracy is a reason why we're able to provide any relief at all. And we've got to do everything we can, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that their voices are secured through passage of the through passage of the For the People Act, and also the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. Thank you so much.
Senator, can you talk a little bit about what you see as issues with the law that was signed into law last night? What are the issues that you take?
Oh, there are major problems with what was passed last night. And as bad as it is, what they were trying to pass was even worse. SB 202 will allow for a hostile takeover of local boards of elections if the Georgia legislature, filled with politicians, doesn't like the outcome of an election. It's anti-democratic. It's un-American. They're trying to make it harder for people to vote rather than making it easier for people to vote. We saw how important vote by mail is. When you think about working families, they need opportunities to be able to exercise their franchise. And it became particularly important in the middle of this pandemic, which we're not out of yet. And besides, the people of Georgia have been voting like this for years. Now, all of a sudden, it's a problem. I think they don't like the outcome. And so rather than change their message, they're trying to change the rules.
Senator Warnock, can we talk really quickly about Governor Kemp saying that this is the people in Washington trying to restrict the votes, not the Republicans here in Georgia who want to make it easy to vote, hard to cheat? How do you respond to what Governor Kemp had to say to lawmakers in Congress?
It is the state legislature here in Georgia right now that's trying to take over local elections if they don't like the outcome. I mean, this is an interesting change in tune for the governor. He just said a couple of years ago that everything was under control with our elections here in Georgia. Our own Secretary of State said that the election that was held, this most recent election, was not rife with fraud, as some have tried to suggest. And so what's the purpose behind all of this? So you're literally going to make public policy based on a lie? Based on the feeling that some people have that things didn't turn out the way they should have turned out? Is that how we make public policy now? I thought we made public policy based on facts and data. And if there's one thing that's clear, it's that the Georgia election was certainly free of any consequential fraud. We counted the votes not once, not twice, but 3 times. So what's the purpose of all of this? They don't like the outcome. And so this is democracy in reverse, where politicians have decided that instead of the voters picking their representatives, the representatives have a right to cherry pick their voters. It's un-American, it's anti-democratic. We have to resist it, non-violently, of course, with everything within us. And I'm going to do everything I can to pass the For the People Act, which makes voting easier, not harder, and to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. It's urgent. Our democracy is in a 911 emergency, and I'm not about to be stopped or stymied by debates about Senate rules. I respect rules, even though there are folks here trying to change the rules. But no Senate rule should overrule the integrity of our democracy. And I was on the phone with my colleagues even last night. I called one of them from the jail while I was getting my church member, Representative Park Cannon, out of jail, to say to that colleague that it's a contradiction for us to say we must protect minority rights in the Senate, while right now here in Georgia, they're trying to crush minority rights in the society.
We have time for maybe one more question.
Just wanted to know if you had touched base with Representative Cannon this morning. I know it was a long night. Has anything about?
I was with her last night when she got out of jail. I'm her pastor. I've known her for years. She is an outstanding young woman with a deep passion for public service. And all of us owe her a debt of gratitude in the real sense for just standing up. And I want you to think about this, and I'll let the investigation play itself out. Maybe there's something that I haven't seen. But in the video I saw, she was knocking on the door. Contrast that with folks who staged a violent insurrection on the United States Capitol. Police officers and others were killed. And I want to know from those who are using the premise of that assault as the basis for a craven takeover of power in Georgia, why they're okay with that, and somehow the actions of a state legislator knocking on the door of a governor who's signing a law that impacts her constituents, why her actions are somehow so dangerous and criminal that she got charged with 2 felonies. I've got news for the state of Georgia and for those who are trying to take the people's voices. We're going to keep on, in various ways, we're going to keep on knocking on that door. Because that wasn't just Representative Cannon knocking on the door. The people are knocking on the door saying that this democracy belongs to us. It doesn't belong to the politicians. And in this moment, we're going to stand up for that sacred American right, one person, one vote.
Senator, do you think this will move the ball with your Democratic colleagues who are still holdouts on getting rid of the filibuster?
What was that?
Do you think this will move the ball at all with your Democratic colleagues who are still holding out on the filibuster?
We will see, but folks keep asking what we are going to do about the filibuster. I think they ought to ask my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, what are they going to do about voting rights? The question really is not, where do I stand on the filibuster? That's a Senate rule. The most fundamental question is, where do you stand on voting rights? We wouldn't have to have this debate about the filibuster, at least on this issue, if the folks on the other side would do the right thing and stand for voting rights and vote the bill up. They can vote the bill up. Why won't they stand up for voting rights? They see what's happening right here in Georgia. They see legislators deciding that it's a crime to give people water who are standing in lines that they're making longer. And so I'm a member of the Senate I respect its traditions. I'm honored to be there to represent the people of Georgia. But the issue of voting rights is about the democracy itself. It's much bigger than any Senate rule.
Thank you all so much.
And there you have it. Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock, Reverend Warnock, also revealing that the state rep who was arrested for knocking on Governor Kemp's door, Parker Cannon, a parishioner of his at Ebenezer Baptist Church. But Senator Warnock, we heard there, trying to essentially reframe perhaps the debate, suggesting that maybe it should not be about talking about the filibuster, but talking about voting rights. Instead, he pointed out that folks have been voting like this in Georgia for years, and now all of a sudden there's a problem with it.